a globetrotting adventure to collect 8 elementally themed badges, a rival who is always one step ahead of you, and a quartet of elite masters that must be challenged for supremacy in the region. That's the premise of your conventional main series Pokemon title, but it's also an apt description of one of its coolest spin-offs, Pokemon the trading card game for the Game Boy Color. This handheld adventure came out on either side of the turn of the millennium, depending on whether or not you were born in Japan. It faithfully recreates both the rules and cards of its physical trading card game counterpart, which means that, unsurprisingly, the amount of enjoyment you can extract out of this game is relative to how much you like the physical trading card game. And lucky me that I do like the physical trading card game, at least casually anyway. The collecting and high price aspect of the competitive scene isn't to my tastes, so I usually stick to kitchen table games with my fiancée and our cheap box of common cards. This Game Boy Color game serves as a great vehicle to experience the trading card game for a casual fan like myself, and a pretty decent way to learn it if you aren't. The rules are pretty simple. There can be multiple Pokemon on either team in play at any given time, but only one Pokemon in each team is actively fighting. You draw energy cards from your deck, which can be assigned to the Pokemon in play to use their attacks. Higher quantities of energy means more powerful attacks. Killing an opponent's Pokemon allows you to draw an extra card from your deck that's been put to the side, known as a prize card, and drawing 6 prize cards wins you the game. In most cases, this means the win condition is killing 6 of your opponent's Pokemon, just like a main series Pokemon game. But also like a main series Pokemon game, not all of the smaller battles demand all 6 Pokemon. Some of them will only be the first 2, 3, or 4. That's more or less the basics. A lot of the minutia, like when to draw, how many cards to draw, when to attack, and so on, gets handled by the game itself, which is part of the reason why I think this game is worth a play regardless of your previous TCG experience. This simple rule set betrays a surprising amount of depth. Once you've done a few games to learn the ropes, it's easy to see that there are lots of strategic decisions to be made, even with the simplest of decks. Questions like which Pokemon should I put in first? How should I distribute my limited energy among my party? Should I go for a status ailment attack, or just try to pump out raw damage and end the fight as quickly as possible? You always need to be thinking in these fights to a degree that's way higher than what's required in the main series of Pokemon games, especially when considering that the inherent randomness of card draw ensures that you can't use the exact same strategies in every single fight. The old sets featured in this game are a reminder of just how much coin flipping was a key mechanic in lots of classic Pokemon attacks, which can be a little frustrating at times. Being on the receiving end of bad luck can turn a great game to a bad one due to no fault of your own, and extremely good luck feels like it just cheapens your wins. But that's about the only bad thing I have to say about the battles themselves. It's the Pokemon TCG alright, and a really playable, fun, and cheap way to experience it too. As a recreation of the Pokemon TCG and a vehicle for learning it, I think this GBC title is definitely strong. So how is it as a video game? Over the years, I've played a lot of Game Boy card games on this channel, mainly because of Yu-Gi-Oh! I think that outside of the card game rules themselves, there are 3 key pillars that these types of games live and die on. First of which is how the card duels are packaged together and what you're going to be doing in between them. Some games opt for an entirely menu-driven approach, while others may have a fully explorable open-world map. Pokemon the trading card game falls somewhere in the middle of these 2 extremes. Your character can move freely on an overworld map, with each key location being one of the 8 gyms, with a few side locations. There is some non-linearity afforded in which order you choose to pursue these gyms, though some of them have certain prerequisites that need to be met before challenging its elementally themed leader and taking its corresponding badge. For example, the Fire Gym Leader expects you to have a certain amount of cards in your collection, and the Fighting Gym Leader needs you to have successfully dueled his pupils who are scattered across some of the other gyms. Traversing between locations isn't really a primary focus of the game. Some individual screenshots make it look like a grand adventure, like the games it's spun off of, but the instant transportation between gyms via the map means that's definitely not the case. Pokemon TCG does manage to emulate the series' major collection hook though. Each time you win a duel, there's a reward of 2 packs of Pokemon cards, which you can use to mix and match with whatever your starting deck was, or make an entirely new second deck. There are also a few trainers who are willing to trade with you for some rare additions to your virtual binder of cards. And that virtual binder leads me to the second factor that can really make or break a Game Boy card game: deck management. The out-of-combat and party management interfaces are probably not things you're worried too much about in a main series Pokemon game. After all, you're shuffling around at most 6 different Pokemon in your party. But card games like the Pokemon TCG are different. At any given time, there's a minimum of 60 individual cards within a single deck that you'll need to be mixing and matching with the hundreds of cards in your collection, and a bad deck management system can add a ton of tedium to this process. There are some hits and misses in how this GBC title handles this aspect of the game, but where it hits, I think it hits shockingly well. The screen where a deck can be managed is probably my single favorite iteration of a deck management screen I've seen on the platform. It uses intuitive icons to group all of the card types at the top of the screen that you can shift between, and each card has its own row within the grouping. Duplicate cards don't inflate the row total, but instead just add a count on the right so you can easily see how many of this card you have in your deck compared to how many you have available. It's insanely easy to use, and the fact that it manages to act as a collection screen and a deck screen in one instead of requiring you to be flipping back and forth between 2 different menus is a huge boon. Pokemon TCG also has support for loadouts to create multiple decks simultaneously. This is a great feature, especially when you take into account that elemental typing advantages are a thing in the TCG, so ideally you don't want to go knocking on the electric gym's door with a fully watered deck. The only limitation of this deck loadout system is that it treats your loadouts not as presets or templates, but as actual physical decks independent of each other. What I mean by this is that if you have a single Blastoise card in your collection, you can't put that Blastoise card in both decks. This is especially felt when it comes to energy cards. Forget about having multiple decks that share any sort of typing, because there won't be enough energy to go around unless you've played the game for at least 10 hours. This doesn't serve as a meaningful deck building limitation to work around because at the end of the day, there's nothing stopping you from just temporarily taking Blastoise out of deck 1 and then putting him into deck 2, and then putting him back into deck 1 when you're done. It just adds extra clicks to the process. I think this restriction on loadouts prevented me from taking full advantage of them, but just having them at all is a step up from what you're going to find in other games of this type on this platform. The third and final item that I find to be instrumental in my enjoyment of card games is the battle UI. With a budget of screen real estate and oftentimes a large amount of information that needs to be conveyed, Game Boy TCGs are fighting an uphill battle. But I think this is a battle that the Pokemon TCG wins. It partially has to thank its physical counterpart for that. Pokemon's emphasis on one-on-one combat means that only 2 Pokemon need to prominently be displayed on the screen at any given time, and this title fills that space with some high-quality pixel art recreating the art from the TCG. You can also tell at a moment's notice how much health and energy are assigned to your battling mons, as well as what status ailments may be impacting them. The game has a check button that allows you to zoom in on any card in the play area to get more details, such as specifically what all their abilities do. Animation and text speed can be altered in the game's options menu to ensure that fights are as snappy as you want them to be, and it only took me about a half hour of play before I was gliding over these menu options with ease. It feels great to play. And with that, the Pokemon trading card game checks pretty much all of my boxes. It starts on third base because it's emulating an already incredibly fun physical game, but its seamless translation of that great game from cardboard to cartridge is the real reason to play. A simple if unambitious adventure serves as the connective tissue for some excellent strategic battles and a card collecting gameplay hook. The fun I've had with Pokemon the trading card game for the GBC is some of the very best this series has given me in a long time.